Since the first human looked at another and felt that stab in the chest, the desperate need to be seen, to be confirmed, humanity has not been searching for love. It's been searching for something far more primitive and paradoxically more sophisticated: validation. But what if I told you that one of history's greatest psychologists had already decoded this deadly illusion that governs our lives? Carl Jung, the man who dove deeper into the human unconscious than anyone before him, understood a truth that modern society refuses to accept. We don't love people. We love the feeling of being loved by them. We don't seek genuine connection. We seek confirmation of our own existence through the gaze of another. This is the great deception that keeps millions trapped in empty relationships, chasing approval on social media, begging for attention, and calling it love. Jung knew that behind every "I love you" lies an "I need you to love me so I know who I am." Over the next 25 minutes, we'll dive into the abyss of the human psyche through Jung's eyes. We won't just identify this illusion. We'll dissect it, understand its deepest mechanisms, and most importantly, extract the tools to transcend it. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to discover about yourself may be disturbing, but it's liberating. Topic 1. The Mask of the Persona. 1. The Law Principle. Jung discovered that we all wear masks. He called this the persona. And the tragedy is that we spend our entire lives trying to make others love the mask, not who we really are. 2. Philosophical deconstruction. The persona is the social self, constructed to please, to be accepted, to receive validation. It's the edited version of ourselves that we present to the world. Jung realized that the more we identify with this mask, the more we lose touch with our true essence. And here's the deadly paradox. The more perfect the mask, the emptier it becomes. And the emptier it is, the more external validation it needs to sustain itself. Third main case study. Consider the story of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor of Rome. Externally, he was adored by millions, respected as the most powerful man in the known world. His persona was perfect, wise, just, invincible. But in his meditations, written only for himself, we discover a man tormented by loneliness, constantly questioning his worth, desperately seeking approval even from the gods. The mask of the perfect emperor had become his prison. He could no longer distinguish between genuine love from his subjects and political flattery. External validation had become his addiction, and like all addictions, it was never enough. 4. Contemporary application. Today, social media is our Roman Colosseum. We build carefully curated digital personas, perfect photos, inspiring quotes, highlight reels. And then we become addicted to likes, comments, followers. We call this building relationships, but Jung would say we're merely feeding our hungry egos. Each like is a small dose of validation. Each positive comment is confirmation that our mask is working. 5. The arsenal, practical application. First tool, take the solitude test. Spend an entire day without posting anything on social media, without seeking external approval. Observe the anxiety that arises. That's your persona screaming for validation. Second tool, ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? The real answer, not the idealized one, is where your true inner work begins. Topic 2. The insatiable hunger of the ego one. The law principle. Jung revealed that the human ego is like an emotional black hole. The more validation you throw into it, the bigger it gets, and the more it needs. 2. Philosophical deconstruction. The ego for Jung isn't just arrogance. It's the psychic structure that gives us identity. But it has a fatal characteristic. It only feels real when recognized by others. It's like a flame that constantly needs external fuel to keep from going out. And here's the trap. When you seek love to feed your ego, you're not loving. You're using the other person as a source of psychic fuel. Third main case study. Napoleon Bonaparte, the little Corsican who conquered Europe, is the perfect example of this dynamic. The more power he accumulated, the more validation he needed. Each military victory was followed by the need for an even greater victory. Each conquered territory only increased his hunger for recognition. Jung would say Napoleon didn't love Josephine. He loved how she made him feel great, powerful, desired. When she could no longer feed his insatiable ego, he discarded her. In the end, exiled on St. Helena, he discovered the cruel truth. An ego inflated by external validation is just a giant with feet of clay. Without the applause of crowds, without the adoration of soldiers, he was nothing. 4. Contemporary application. Observe modern relationships through this lens. How many people do you know who constantly change partners, always unsatisfied? Jung would say they're not seeking love. They're seeking more potent validation suppliers. When their current partner can no longer inflate their ego, they move on to the next one. This is why relationships based on appearances, status, or impressing others always fail. They're built on the quicksand of ego. 5. The arsenal. First tool, identify your ego triggers. When do you feel most needy for approval? In what situations? This awareness is the first step to freedom. Second tool, practice love without expectation. Do something genuinely kind for someone without expecting recognition, gratitude, or return. Notice how difficult this is. It reveals how much your love is contaminated by the need for validation. Topic 3. The shadow of self, love 1. The law principle. Jung discovered that what we most reject in ourselves, our shadow, is exactly what we desperately seek others to accept and validate. 2. Philosophical deconstruction. The shadow, in Jungian psychology, represents the aspects of ourselves we deny, repress, or consider unacceptable. But here's the paradox. The more we reject our shadow, the more we depend on external validation to feel complete. We seek in others' gaze the acceptance we deny ourselves. It's a way of outsourcing our self-esteem. If they love me despite my flaws, then maybe I have value. Third main case study. Oscar Wilde, the literary genius who became a social pariah, lived this drama viscerally. Wilde was brilliant, witty, admired by London's intellectual elite. But he carried a heavy shadow, his homosexuality in a repressive Victorian era. The more he rejected this aspect of himself, the more he sought external validation through his art, his social presence, his relationships. He couldn't love himself completely, so he desperately depended on others' love and admiration. When scandal broke and society rejected him, Wilde crumbled. Without external validation, he found himself face to face with the truth Jung knew well. You cannot truly love others while you don't completely accept yourself. Fourth contemporary application. How many people do you know who are extremely demanding of partners, but are actually projecting their own self-criticism? Or those who constantly seek approval for their deepest insecurities? Jung would say they're trying to heal their relationship with the shadow through external validation, a strategy doomed to failure. 5. The arsenal. First tool. Make a list of your 3 biggest flaws or insecurities. Now ask yourself, In what situations do I seek specific validation for these points? This connection is revealing. Second tool, practice radical self-compassion. For 1 week, treat yourself with the same kindness you'd show your best friend. Notice how this reduces your need for external validation. So far, we've unveiled the fundamental pillars of the illusion Jung identified. You've discovered how the persona becomes a golden prison, how the ego transforms into an emotional black hole, and how rejecting your own shadow makes you dependent on others' validation. These are the basic mechanisms that keep millions trapped in the desperate search for love that never satisfies. But that was just the diagnosis. Now we're entering the territory of healing, the deepest strategies Jung developed to transcend this dependency. What follows is not for the faint of heart. These are techniques that require courage to look directly into the abyss of your own soul and find there not a monster, but the key to true freedom. Topic 4. Individualization, the solitary path. 1. The law principle. Jung called individuation the process of becoming genuinely who you are, independent of external validation. It's the most difficult path a human being can walk. 2. Philosophical deconstruction. Individuation isn't cheap self-help. It's an alchemical transformation of personality. Jung discovered that to transcend the need for validation, you must first dive completely into yourself, accept all aspects of your personality, light and shadow, and then emerge as an integrated individual. It's literally being born again, but this time by yourself, for yourself. Third main case study. Hermann Hesse, the German writer and Jung's patient, documented his own journey of individuation in the novel Demian. Hesse came to Jung at 40, destroyed by divorce, dependent on alcohol, and completely lost. His entire life had been built on the need for approval, first from parents, then from his wife, then from literary critics. Jung guided him through the brutal process of confronting his shadow, accepting his darkest aspects, and emerging as an integrated man. The result was a creative explosion that culminated in Steppenwolf and Siddhartha. Hesse learned to love his own company, to create art that satisfied him regardless of critical reception. He had transcended the need for external validation. Fourth, contemporary application. Individuation in the modern world means developing an internal moral compass so strong that you don't need others' approval to know your worth. It means creating, loving, working, and living according to your own high standards, not others' expectations. It's the difference between being an authentic person and being an actor playing a role to please the audience. 5. The arsenal. First tool, start a shadow journal. Every day, write about an aspect of yourself you'd normally hide from others. Consciously accept it. Second tool, make an important decision based purely on what you consider right, completely ignoring what others will think. Notice the terror this generates and the freedom that comes after. Topic 5. Projection. Seeing love where it doesn't exist one. The law of principle. Jung revealed that we often don't love the real person. We love our projection onto them, our fantasies and needs projected onto their image. 2. Philosophical deconstruction. Projection is an unconscious mechanism where we attribute to others characteristics that are actually ours, both positive and negative. In relationships, this becomes fatal. You fall in love with your own projection, not the real person, and then you become frustrated when they don't match the fantasy you created. Jung understood this isn't love, it's disguised narcissism. Third main case study. The legend of King Arthur and Guinevere perfectly illustrates this dynamic. Arthur projected onto Guinevere his anima, the image of the perfect woman that existed in his mind. He loved her not for what she was, but for what she represented to him. Purity, beauty, validation of his greatness as king. When Guinevere revealed herself to be human, with desires, flaws, and needs of her own that didn't match the projection, the kingdom crumbled. Arthur couldn't love the real woman because he was addicted to his own fantasy. Jung would say Arthur was in love with himself, using Guinevere as a mirror. Fourth contemporary application: how many modern relationships are based on projections? He sees in her the perfect mother for his future children. She sees in him the ideal provider who will solve her financial problems. Neither sees or loves the real person. When reality inevitably breaks the projection, they feel betrayed. But actually, they were betrayed by their own fantasies. 5. The arsenal. First tool: list 5 qualities you love in someone close to you. Now honestly ask yourself, are these real characteristics I've repeatedly observed? Or are they projections of what I'd like to be true? Second tool: when you feel disappointed with someone, ask, what expectation of mine wasn't met? Was this expectation fair, or was it a projection? Topic 6. Encounter with the Self, the Final Transcendence. 1. The Law Principle. Jung discovered that within each of us exists a self, a center of psychic power that transcends the ego and doesn't need external validation because it's connected to something greater. 2. Philosophical deconstruction. The self, in Jungian psychology, is the archetype of wholeness, of completeness. It's the highest version of who you can become. When you connect with yourself, something extraordinary happens. You stop needing others' love because you discover an inexhaustible source of love within yourself. It's not selfishness, it's the opposite. It's transcending the ego and connecting with something universal. Third main case study: Lao Tzu, the legendary Chinese sage, perfectly embodies this realization. According to legends, he lived as a common man for decades, but had completely transcended the need for external validation. When he finally wrote the Tao Te Ching, it wasn't for fame or recognition. It was because a border guard asked for it as payment to let him pass. Lao Tzu had found his self, was complete in himself, connected to the universal Tao. He could love truly because he needed nothing from others. His wisdom flowed from an inexhaustible internal source, not from the need to impress or be validated. Fourth, contemporary application. People who have found their self are easily recognizable. They have a calm and powerful presence, don't need to prove anything to anyone, love without expectations, and inspire others not through attention-seeking, but through radiant authenticity. They've transcended the need for external validation because they've discovered an internal validation infinitely more powerful. 5. The arsenal. First tool: dedicate 20 minutes daily to meditation or silent contemplation. Not to achieve something, but to connect with this internal source. Second tool: identify moments in your life when you felt completely fulfilled without needing anything from others. Analyze these experiences. They're clues to your self-emerging. We've traveled together through the map Jung left to transcend humanity's most dangerous illusion. You discovered how the persona becomes a golden prison requiring constant validation to maintain itself. You understood how the insatiable ego transforms relationships into sources of psychic fuel. You face the truth about the shadow and how its rejection makes us dependent on others' acceptance. And then we enter deeper territory, the solitary path of individuation, where you're born to yourself, liberation from the projections we mistake for love. And finally, the encounter with the self, that internal source of completeness that makes all external validation unnecessary. These aren't just psychological theories. They're keys to a personal revolution. Together, they form a complete system for transcending the need for validation and discovering what Jung called true love. Not the love that begs for approval, but the love that flows from an inexhaustible internal source. But here's the warning Jung always gave. This knowledge is a double-edged sword. It can be used to free yourself or to manipulate others still trapped in the search for validation. The temptation will be great to use these insights to feel superior, to judge those who haven't yet taken this journey. Resist this temptation. Use this knowledge to free yourself, to love more genuinely, to become more authentic, but never to diminish others or defeat a new form of spiritually superior ego. The true test that you've integrated these lessons is when you can help others find their own freedom without needing recognition for it. In the comments, share which of these Jungian revelations most impacted your understanding of your own relationships. And be honest. We all recognize these patterns in ourselves. If this journey of self-knowledge resonates with you, subscribe to the channel. We'll continue exploring the deepest territories of human psychology, unveiling the secrets the great masters left for those brave enough to look within themselves. Your like isn't just support. It's a signal that you're ready to transcend the need for external validation and find the source of true love that exists within you. Until the next journey.